Hello, everyone, and welcome back uh, to Michael Reads. Welcome to all of you seekers of wisdom, builders of character, and future masters of prosperity. Here on Michael Reads is a place where timeless books become practical lessons for modern life. Tonight, I'm just setting everything up. Tonight, we continue our journey through one of the most influential books ever written um, on wealth and financial freedom. Uh, the Richest Man in Babylon. Our focus this evening um, is chapter 5, The Five Laws of Gold. Before we begin, I invite you to become more than a listener, become a student of wisdom. If you believe knowledge has the power to transform lives, subscribe to Michael Reads, share the stream with someone who is striving to improve their future, and leave a comment telling us where you are joining from. Every new reader strengthens this growing community of learners and builders. Together, we are not simply reading books, we are studying the principles that shape extraordinary lives. Now, let us enter ancient Babylon once again. In the previous chapters, we learned how to acquire wealth, how to save a portion of your earnings, and how to put money to work. Tonight, George Clason introduces a deeper lesson. This chapter explores what happens after wealth has been accumulated. Many people, they do dream of possessing money, yet very few understand how to keep it. Fortunes are often earned and then lost. Opportunities are discovered and then squandered. Wealth arrives but fails to remain. The five laws of gold reveal why this happens. Through a fascinating tale involving a wealthy lender and his son, we are shown that gold behaves according to certain principles. It rewards those who respect its nature and abandons those who treat it carelessly. The lessons within this chapter remain just as relevant today as they were in ancient Babylon. Whether you earn a modest income or manage substantial assets, these laws explain why some people steadily grow richer while others continually struggle despite periods of success. As you listen tonight, consider your own relationship with money. Are you guiding your wealth wisely? Are your savings multiplying? Are your investments protected? Are your financial decisions rooted in knowledge or emotion? The answers may reveal why money flows towards certain individuals and away from others. Now, settle in, open your mind, and prepare to discover the timeless wisdom contained within the five laws of gold from the richest man in Babylon. I do uh, apologize. Today I've got a bit of a throat, so there will be moments where a few coughs here and there, but I hope it doesn't disrupt the reading too much. So if you do have a copy of the book, please, chapter 5, The Five Laws of Gold. A bag that is heavy with gold or a clay tablet carved with words of wisdom. If you had your choice, which would you choose? The sun-tanned faces of the listeners gleamed with interest by the flickering light from the fire of desert shrubs. The gold, chorused the 27. Old Calabab smiled knowingly. Listen, he resumed, raising his hand. Hear the wild dogs out there in the night. They howl and wail because they are skinny with hunger. But if you feed them, what do? Fight and strut. Then fight and strut some more, giving no thought to the tomorrow that will surely come. It is the same with the sons of men. Give them a choice between gold and wisdom. What do? Ignore the wisdom and waste the gold. Tomorrow they cry because they have no more gold. Gold is reserved for those who know its laws and abide by them. Calabab drew his white robe closed around his lean legs, for a cool night wind is blowing. Since you have served me faithfully on your long journey, and since you cared for my camel so well, and since you toiled without complaint across the hot sands of the desert, and since you fought the robbers that wanted to steal my merchandise so bravely, I will tell you tonight the tale of the 5 laws of gold. Such a tale you have never heard before. Listen with deep attention to the words I speak, because if you grasp the meaning and heed them, in the future you will have a great amount of gold. He paused impressively. Above was a canopy of blue. The stars shone brightly in the crystal clear skies of Babylonia. Behind the group sat their faded tents, tightly staked against possible desert storms. Besides the tents were neatly stacked bales of merchandise covered with skins. Nearby, the camel herd sprawled in the sand, some chewing their cuds contentedly, others snoring in hoarse discord. You have told us many good tales, Calabab, spoke up the chief packer. We look to your wisdom to guide us tomorrow after our service with you is at an end. I have only told you of my adventures in strange and distant lands, but tonight I will tell you of the wisdom of Arkad, the wise, rich man. We have heard a lot about him, acknowledged the chief packer, because he was the richest man that ever lived in Babylon. He was the richest man because he was wise in the ways of gold, wiser than any man had ever been before him. Tonight I will tell you of this great wisdom as it was told to me by Nomasur, his son, many years ago in Nineveh when I was but a lad. My master and I lingered long into the night in the place of Nomasur. I had helped my master bring great bundles of fine rugs for Nomasur to try until he found the right color. Finally, he was pleased and commanded us to sit with him and drink a rare vintage, odorous to the nostrils and warming to my stomach. That was unaccustomed to such a drink. Then he told us a tale about the great wisdom of Arkad, his father, just as I tell you. In Babylon, it is the custom, as you know, that the sons of wealthy fathers live with their parents in expectation of inheriting the estate. Arkad did not approve of this custom, so when Nomasur reached a certain age, he sent for the young man and addressed him. My son, it is my desire that you receive my estate. You must, however, first prove that you are capable of wisely handling it. So, I want you to go out into the world and show your ability both to acquire gold and to make yourself respected among men. To start off well, I will give you 2 things that I myself was denied when I started as a poor youth to build up a fortune. First, I will give you this bag of gold. If you use it wisely, it will be the basis of your future success. Second, I will give you a clay tablet on which is carved the 5 laws of gold. If you incorporate them into your life, they will bring you competence and security. 10 years passed, and Nomasir, as he had agreed, returned to his father's house, where they had a great feast in his honor, to which he invited many friends and relatives. After the feast was over, his father and mother mounted their throne-like seats at one side of the great hall, and Nomasir stood before them to give his report as he had promised his father. It was evening. The room was hazy with smoke from the wicks of the oil lamps that only dimly lit it. Slaves in white woven jackets and tunics fanned the humid air rhythmically with long stemmed palm leaves. A stately dignity colored the scene. The wife of Nomasa and his 2 young sons, with sons and other members of the family, sat on rugs behind him, eagerly listening. "My father," he began, "I bow before your wisdom. 10 years ago, when I stood at the gates of manhood, you had me go out and become a man among men, instead of remaining a slave to your fortune. You gave me a generous amount of your gold. You gave me liberally of your wisdom. Of the gold, alas, I must admit, I handled it disastrously. It fled from my inexperienced hands like a wild hare runs from the boy who captures it." The father smiled indulgently. "Continue, my son. Your tale interests me very much. I decided to go to Nineveh because it was a growing city and I believed that I might find opportunities there. I joined a caravan and made numerous friends among its members. 2 well-spoken men who had a beautiful white horse as fast as the wind were among them. As we traveled, they told me that in Nineveh was a wealthy man who owned a horse so swift that it had never been beaten. Its owner believed that no horse living could run with greater speed, so he would wager any sum, however large, that his horse could outrun any horse in all Babylon. Compared to their horse, my friend said it was like a lumbering donkey that could be beaten with ease. They offered, as a great favor, to allow me to join them in a bet. I was impressed with the plan. Our horse was badly beaten and I lost a lot of my gold. The father laughed. Later I discovered that it was a deceitful plan for these men, and they would journey around with caravans looking for victims. You see, the man in Nineveh was their partner and shared with them the bets he had won. This shrewd, deceitful act taught me my first lesson in looking out for myself. I would soon learn another lesson, equally bitter. In the caravan, there was another young man who I had become quite friendly with. He was the son of wealthy parents and, like me, was traveling to Nineveh to find a suitable location. Not long after our arrival, he told me that a merchant had died and his shop with its merchandise and customers could be secured at a paltry price. He said that he would be equal partners, but he must return to Babylon first to secure his gold. He asked me to purchase the stock with my gold, agreeing that his gold would be used to carry on our venture later. He kept delaying his trip to Babylon, proving in the meantime to be an unwise buyer and a foolish spender. I finally put him out, but not before the business had deteriorated to where we had only unsellable goods and no gold to buy other goods. I sold what was left to an Israelite for a pitiful sum. Soon after that, I tell you, my father, there were bitter days. I looked for employment and couldn't find any because I didn't have a trade or training that would allow me to earn. I sold your horses. I sold my slave. I sold my extra robes so I could have food and a place to sleep. But each day, poverty crept closer. But in those bitter days, I remembered your confidence in me, my father. You had sent me out to become a man, and I was determined to accomplish this. The mother buried her face and wept softly. At this time, I thought about the tablet you had given to me on which you carved the 5 laws of gold. So I carefully read your words of wisdom and realized that if I had only sought your wisdom first, I wouldn't have lost my gold. I learned each law by heart and determined that when the goddess of good fortune smiled upon me once more, I would be guided by the wisdom of age and not by the inexperience of youth. For the benefit of you who are seated here tonight, I will read the wisdom of my father as it is engraved on the clay tablet that he gave me 10 years ago. The 5 laws of gold. Gold comes gladly and increasing quantity to any man who will put no less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and his family future. Gold works diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds a profitable job for it, multiplying like the flocks of the field. Gold clings to the protection of the cautious owner who invests it under the advice of men who handle it wisely. Gold slips away from the man who invests it in businesses or purposes that he is not familiar with or not approved by those skilled in them. Gold leaves the man who tries to force it to earn impossible interest or who follows the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers or who trusts it to his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. These are the 5 laws of gold as written by my father. I proclaim they have a greater value than gold itself, as I will show with the rest of my tale. He again faced his father. I have told you of the depth of my poverty and despair that my inexperience brought me. However, there's no chain of disasters that will not come to an end. Mine came when I got employment managing a crew of slaves working on the new outer wall of the city. Profiting from my knowledge of the first law of gold, I saved a copper from my first earnings, adding to it at every opportunity until I had a piece of silver. It was a slow procedure because one has to live. I spent reluctantly, I admit, because I was determined to earn back as much gold as you, my father, had given to me before the 10 years were over. One day the slave master, with whom I had become quite friendly, said to me, "You are a thrifty youth who doesn't waste what he earns. Have you put gold away that isn't earning interest?" "Yes," I replied. "It is my greatest desire to accumulate gold to replace the gold my father gave to me and that I have lost. I will admit this is a worthy ambition, and do you know that the gold that you have saved can work for you and earn much more gold? Unfortunately, my inexperience has been bitter because my father's gold has run from me, and I am afraid my own gold will do the same. If you have confidence in me, I will give you a lesson in the profitable handling of gold," he replied. "Within a year, the outer wall will be complete and ready for the great gates of bronze that will be built at each entrance to protect the city from the king's enemies. There is not enough metal in all of Nineveh to make those gates, and the king has not thought to acquire it ahead of time. Here is my plan. A group of us will pull our gold and send a caravan to the faraway copper and tin mines and bring the metal for the gates to Nineveh. When the king says, make the great gates, we can supply the metal alone and a great price he will pay. If the king will not buy from us, we will still have the metal that we can sell for a fair price. In this offer, I recognized an opportunity to follow the third law and invest my savings under the guidance of wise men. I wasn't disappointed. Our venture was a success, and my small store of gold was increased greatly by the transaction. In due time, I was accepted as a member of the same group in other ventures. They were wise in the profitable handling of gold. They talked over each plan, presented with great care before entering in on it. They wouldn't take a chance on losing their principal or trying it up with unprofitable investments from which their gold couldn't be recovered. Foolish things like the horse race and the partnership that I had entered with my inexperience, they wouldn't have even considered them. They would have immediately pointed out their weaknesses. Through my association with these men, I learned to safely invest gold to bring profitable returns. As the years went on, my treasure increased more and more rapidly. I not only made back as much as I lost, but much more. Through my misfortunes, my trials, and my success, I have tested time and again the wisdom of the 5 laws of gold, my father, and have proven them true at every test. Whoever doesn't have the knowledge of the 5 laws, gold doesn't come often and quickly goes away. But whoever abides by the 5 laws, gold comes and works as his dutiful slave. Nomasir stopped speaking and mentioned to a slave in the back of the room. The slave brought forward 3 heavy leather bags, one at a time. Nomasir took one of these and placed it on the floor before his father, addressing him again. You gave me a bag of gold, Babylon gold. See, in this place I return to you a bag of Nineveh gold of equal weight. An equal exchange, as all will agree. You gave me a clay tablet inscribed with wisdom. See, in its place I return 2 bags of gold. He took the other 2 bags from the slave and placed them on the floor before his father. I am doing this to prove to you, my father, of how much greater value I consider your wisdom than your gold. But who can measure the value of wisdom in bags of gold? Without wisdom, gold is quickly lost and by those who have it. But with wisdom, gold can be secured by those who don't have it, as these 3 bags of gold prove. It gives me the deepest satisfaction, my father, to stand before you and say that because of your wisdom, I have been able to become rich and respected before men. The father placed his hand upon the head of Nomasir. You have learned your lessons well, and I am indeed fortunate to have a son to whom I can entrust my wealth. Calabab stopped his tale and looked critically at his listeners. What does this tale of Nomasir mean to you? He continued. Who among you can go to your father or to the father of your wife and tell him of your wise handling of your earnings? What would these respectable men think if you said, I have traveled great distances, learned a lot, labored long hours, and earned large amounts, but alas, I have little gold. Some money I spent wisely, some I spent foolishly, and I have lost a lot in unwise ways. Do you still think it only an inconsistency of fate that some men have a lot of gold and others don't have much gold? Then you are wrong. Men have great amounts of gold when they know the 5 laws of gold and abide by them. Because I learned these 5 laws, when I was young and followed them, I became a wealthy merchant. I didn't accumulate my wealth by some strange magic. Wealth that comes quickly leaves the same way. Wealth that stays to give enjoyment and satisfaction to the owner comes gradually because it is as a child born out of knowledge and persistent purpose. To earn wealth is only a slight burden on the thoughtful man. Bearing the burden consistently from year to year accomplishes the final purpose. The 5 laws of gold offer you a rich reward for its observance. Each of these 5 laws is rich with meaning, and if you overlooked this in the briefness of my tale, I will now repeat them. I know each of them by heart because in my youth I could see their values and would not be content until I knew them word for word. The first law of gold. Gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to any man who will put away no less than 1/10 of his earnings to create an estate for his future and estate of his family. Any man who will put away 1/10 of his earnings consistently and invest it wisely will surely create a valuable estate that will provide an income for him in the future and future guarantee safety for his family in case the gods call him to the world of darkness. This law always says that gold comes gladly to such a man. I can truly confirm this is my own life. The more gold I accumulate, the quicker it comes to me and in increased quantities. The gold that I save earns more and its earnings earn more, and this is the working out of the first law. The second law of gold. Gold works diligently and contentedly for the wise owner who finds profitable employment for it, multiplying like the flocks in the field. Gold is a willing worker. It is eager to multiply when opportunity presents itself. To every man who has a store of gold set aside, opportunity comes for its most profitable use. As the years pass, it multiplies itself in surprising fashion. The third law of gold. Gold clings to the protection of the cautious owner who invested under the advice of men wise in handling it. Gold clings to the cautious owner, just as it flees from the careless owner. The man who looks for the advice of men who are wise in handling gold soon learns not to jeopardize his treasure, but to preserve it safely and to enjoy its consistent increase. The fourth law of gold. Gold slips away from the man who invested in businesses or purposes he is not familiar with, or which are not approved by those who are skilled in those areas. To the man who has gold but is not skilled in handling it, many profitable uses will appear for it. Too often these uses are in danger of being lost, and if property analyzed by wise men shows small possibility of profit. So the inexperienced owner of gold who trusts his own judgment and invested in businesses he is not familiar with too often finds his judgment imperfect and pays for his inexperience with his treasure. Wise is he who invests his treasures under the advice of men skilled in the ways of gold. The fifth law of gold. Gold leaves the man who forces it to make impossible interest or who follows the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers, or who trusts his own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. Fancy propositions that thrill you like adventure tales always come to the new owner of gold. These appear to give his treasure magic powers that will enable it to make impossible returns. But listen to the wise men to verify they know the risks that lurk behind every plan to make great wealth suddenly. Don't forget the rich men of Nineveh who wouldn't take a chance of losing their principal or trying or tying it up in unprofitable investments. This ends my tale of the 5 laws of gold. In telling the story, I have told you all the secrets of my own success. But they are not secrets, but truths that every man must first learn and then follow who want to step out of the crowd that, like wild dogs, must worry every day for food to eat. Tomorrow we'll enter Babylon. Look, see the fire that burns eternally above the temple of Baal? We are already in sight of the golden city. Tomorrow each of you will have gold, and the gold you have earned by your faithful services. 10 years from tonight, what could you tell us about the gold? Is there, if there's any man among you who, like Nomasser, will use a portion of their gold to start for themselves an estate and then be guided by the wisdom of Arcad, 10 years from now, this is the safe wager. Like the son of Arcad, they will be rich and respected among men. Our wise acts follow us through life to please us and to help us. Just the same, our unwise acts follow us to plague and torment us. Unfortunately, they can't be forgotten. At the top of the list of the things that torment us and follows us are the memories of the things we should have done, of the opportunities that came to us and we didn't take. Rich are the treasures of Babylon, so rich that no man can count their value in pieces of gold. Each year they grow richer and more valuable, like the treasures of every land. Their reward, a rich reward awaits the men of purpose who determine to secure their share. In the strength of your own desires is a magic power. Guide this power with your knowledge of the 5 laws of gold, and you will share the treasures of Babylon. Wow, what an extraordinary chapter. The 5 laws of gold may be among the most practical financial principles ever written because they focus not on earning wealth but on preserving and expanding it. Many people spend their entire lives trying to make money. Far fewer learn how to manage money once it arrives. This chapter reminds us that wealth is not built through luck, intelligence alone, or occasional success. Wealth grows through discipline, patience, and adherence to timeless principles. Let us reflect on each law. So, the first law: gold comes gladly and in increasing quantity to the person who saves at least 1/10 of their earnings. This law reinforces one of the central lessons of the entire book. We've heard this law numerous times in all the chapters. Uh, we are on chapter 5 right now. If this is your first time watching, the previous chapters are all in a playlist there for you to watch. Financial freedom begins with paying yourself first. Before investing, spending, upgrading your lifestyle, or impressing anyone, a portion of every income must belong to your future self. The lesson is simple: those who consistently save create opportunities. Those who spend everything create dependence. Savings are not merely money, they are future wisdom. The second law of gold: gold works diligently for the wise owner. Money should never remain idle. A pound left untouched remains a pound. A pound invested wisely becomes many pounds. This principle teaches us that wealth grows when it is given productive work. Every successful investor understands this concept. Money should generate additional money, whether through businesses, investments, property, or other productive assets. Wealth must be employed rather than stored. The third law of gold. Gold clings to the protection of a cautious owner. This law, it emphasizes the wisdom and guidance. The wealthy seek advice from experienced individuals before risking capital. The inexperienced often rely on opinions, excitement, and speculation. One of the fastest ways to lose money is to take financial advice from people who have never successfully managed wealth themselves. Babylon's wisdom remains clear. Seek counsel from those who possess proven expertise. The fourth law of gold. Gold slips away from those who invest in things they do not understand. This lesson may be more important today than when the book was written. Modern society consistently presents new opportunities. Cryptocurrencies, trending stocks, business ventures, property deals, investment schemes. Many people invest simply because others are doing so. Yet the chapter teaches us that ignorance is expensive. Never place money into something you do not fully understand. Knowledge must always precede investment. The fifth law of gold. Gold flees from those who seek impossible returns. Perhaps this is the most powerful warning in the chapter. Greed blinds judgment. Whenever an opportunity, promises extraordinary rewards with little risk, caution should immediately arise. History repeatedly shows the same pattern. People lose fortunes chasing shortcuts. The desire to get rich quickly often destroys the wealth they already possess. Sustainable wealth grows gradually. Patience consistently outperforms greed. The first lesson is that wealth follows laws. Money is not random. Certain behaviors consistently attract prosperity while others consistently create financial hardship. Another lesson is that protecting wealth is just as important as earning it. Many people focus entirely on increasing income while neglecting the management of what they already possess. Is that another lesson in this chapter is that financial education is essential. Every pound saved represents time, effort, and energy. Before risking it, we owe ourselves the responsibility of understanding where it is being placed or where it is to be placed. Another lesson is that patience remains one of the greatest wealth building advantages available to anyone. Small disciplined actions repeated over years produce remarkable results. And the final lesson in this chapter is that character determines financial outcomes. Discipline, wisdom, caution, humility, and patience are not merely financial virtues, they are life virtues. The individual who develops these qualities becomes capable of building success in every area of life. So, as we conclude tonight's reading, I would encourage you to ask yourself a simple question. Which of these five laws do you follow well? And which one do you need to improve on? Or do you need to just adopt them all? Awareness creates change, And the moment we identify a weakness, we gain the opportunity to strengthen it. So Babylon's wisdom has endured for generations because human nature has not changed. The same habits that created wealth thousands of years ago continue to create wealth today. The same mistakes that emptied purses in Babylon still empty bank accounts in the modern world. The principles remain timeless. The choice to apply them remains ours. And thank you for joining me today on Michael Reads. I'm sorry I've not been 100%, but I hope you got some value from the reading. And if you did, if you could please subscribe, share the stream to a friend, or simply just leave a comment with your biggest takeaway from the 5 laws of gold. And remember, please, people, wisdom ignored changes everything. Wisdom applied, wisdom ignored changes nothing. And wisdom applied changes everything. Until the next time, continue seeking knowledge, continue building character, continue mastering your finances, and continue becoming the architect of your own future. I am Michael Reeds, and I'm signing off from the ancient streets of Babylon. May your knowledge increase, may your discipline strengthen, and may your gold always find worthy purpose. Good night, and I will see you all on the next chapter where we will be doing a full breakdown of the 5 laws of gold. And that will be happening in a couple of days' time on Saturday. So if you turn your notification bell on, you will be alerted for that. So I look forward to seeing you then as we break it down and we start applying this into our daily routines. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.